sharp gunshot cracked through the quiet evening, reverberating down the otherwise still suburban street. The German shepherd dropped instantly, his body hitting the pavement before the echo of the shot had faded. Special Agent Talia Monroe, bruised, winded, and aching from the beating she'd just taken, screamed a name that ripped from somewhere deep inside her. Shadow. But there was no response. Her partner, her only constant through years of classified missions, was still, blood seeping into the cracks of the sidewalk. The two officers who had ambushed them stood over her. One had a baton still slick with her blood. The other calmly holstered his weapon, as if putting down a threat rather than executing a decorated K-9. Talia, hands cuffed behind her back, face smashed against the asphalt, didn't cry. She didn't plead. She didn't even speak. But something ancient and powerful ignited inside her at that moment. Something more enduring than pain, more discipline than rage. She'd survived IEDs, insurgents, and chemical attacks. But she'd never imagined she'd be dragged like a criminal through the streets of her own country for walking her dog while black. Shadow had sensed it first. The moment they turned the corner into their own neighborhood, he'd tensed. His trained instincts had picked up the hum of a threat. The police cruiser idling too long at the corner, the silence that stretched unnaturally across trimmed lawns and cul-de-sacs. The officers claimed they were responding to reports of suspicious activity, that a large black individual walking with a dangerous dog had been flagged by residents. Never mind that Talia was one of the most decorated operatives in the Department of Defense, or that Shadow had saved lives on 3 continents. None of that mattered in a place where power wore a badge and demanded silence in return. Officer Paul Banner had played it cool at first. "Evening, ma'am. What brings you out here?" Talia had answered calmly. "I live here. Just walking my dog." The second officer, Ryan Dokes, was more direct. "Let's see some ID." She'd obliged, even trained Shadow to stay still while she retrieved it. But the tone shifted the moment they read her name. Recognition flickered behind their eyes. Not respect, but calculation. These weren't men protecting a community. These were predators assessing prey. The questions turned to accusations. "We've had drug activity in the area. You understand how this looks," Doak said with a grin. "I'm not a suspect," she replied, voice low and controlled. "I'm a citizen." Banner stepped out of the cruiser, face suddenly hard. "That's enough. We can arrest you for noncompliance." Talia stood her ground. She was unarmed, compliant, a U.S. veteran. But that didn't stop them. What followed was a blur. Banner reached for her arm without warning. Shadow barked, stepped forward once, just once, to protect his handler. And then Dokes drew his weapon and fired point blank. The bullet struck Shadow's ribs. Talia screamed as his body dropped mid-leap, momentum crumpling into stillness. She fell to her knees, hands trembling against the cold concrete as she cradled his head. Blood poured freely, her pants soaked in it. Her voice cracked in agony. Dokes stood over her. "Should have kept your mud in check." Something inside her snapped. Not her discipline, not her training. That remained intact. But the last fragile thread that believed in the uniform, that believed there were still rules. And while she wept over Shadow's broken body, Banner pulled out a taser and fired without warning. Her back arched, limbs convulsed, and she collapsed beside her fallen partner. They cuffed her and dragged her like garbage to the cruiser. No Miranda rights. No medics for Shadow. Just a smear of blood down the street and the twisted smiles of 2 officers who thought they'd won. But they hadn't. What they'd done was awaken something far more dangerous than a grieving veteran. They'd lit the fuse on a reckoning. Back at the station, Talia's wrists bled in the holding cell. Blood from the baton, from the pavement, from the broken temple that now throbbed with each breath. But her mind was clear, focused, as if every injury had burned away distraction and left only the mission. Then the door opened, and in walked Callie Monroe, her younger sister. No badge, no gun, just a black suit, a laptop, and a press badge from the National Watchdog News Network. "Release my sister," she said flatly, dropping a thick folder onto the front desk. "Or this precinct is going on record as torturing a war hero." The officer behind the glass hesitated. Callie's eyes didn't blink. Within 12 minutes, Talia was unshackled. But her name was already under attack. That night, a headline swept across local media. "Decorated Veteran Incites Dog to Attack Police." No mention of Shadow's death. No footage of the taser. Just a mugshot of Talia, eyes swollen, hair bloodied, looking every bit the threat they wanted her to be. The media twisted the narrative with surgical precision. Veteran, black, dangerous. But Callie wasn't just a journalist. She was a storm. She dug. She found body cam footage that had conveniently failed to upload. Doorbell camera footage from a neighbor across the street. Witness statements. Medical records. Internal affairs reports showing years of excessive force complaints against both officers. Then she published it all. The internet roared. The footage of Shadow's death went viral. The doorbell audio, clear and undeniable, captured Banner's voice. Women like you need to remember their place. Within 24 hours, a hashtag exploded. Hashtag Justice for Shadow. Veterans spoke out. Civil rights groups took notice. Even former law enforcement officers condemned the shooting. Talia, meanwhile, said nothing. Not yet. Instead, she planned. Every move of Banner and Dokes. Their shifts. Their routines. Where they drank. Who they bragged to. And then she set the trap. The first to feel it was Banner. He was jumped behind his favorite bar. Never saw her coming. A quick lock. A whispered reminder of what he'd taken. A fragment of Shadow's collar pressed into his chest. I'm not done yet, she said. Then vanished. Dokes was next. Lured outside by a girl who worked with Callie. In the alley, he found himself pinned. Fists. Silence. A pain etched into muscle and memory. You remember me now? Talia whispered as he collapsed. But she left them both alive. Because pain was only the first phase. The next came weeks later when video surfaced. Clear surveillance from inside Talia's home. Banner and Dokes breaking in, unannounced, hurling slurs, slamming her against the wall. Every second was recorded. Every lie exposed. The district erupted. Protests flooded the streets. Veterans in full dress uniforms marched alongside mothers carrying signs with photos of Shadow. A mural appeared downtown. A black woman in a white uniform holding a fallen shepherd beneath the words, "He died for her. She stood for us." Banner and Dokes were arrested under federal charges. 25 years. No parole. Talia didn't attend the sentencing to gloat. She went to the cemetery. She knelt before Shadow's grave and laid a single star, emblem of Delta Force, on the headstone. You kept me safe, she whispered. Now it's my turn to keep others safe. She returned to civilian life with a mission. Teaching underserved kids how to protect themselves, not with fists, but with code. Her program, Justice Through Code, trained a new generation of watchdogs, engineers, and storytellers. Because justice, she taught, isn't just about punishment. It's about truth outliving the lie. And as her students learned to trace digital footprints and deconstruct media bias, they did so beneath a photo of a dog in uniform. Shadow, forever on duty.